We've been talking a lot about delves, the current state of delves, the shit show that is delves, and the fun that is delves. They all go hand in hand. Delves have been, controversial to talk about lately. But I've been doing them quite a lot. I've been grinding them up, got up to tier 8, have not died because I'm a blood DK though. And as I understand it, tanks have the best time in delves right now the way they're designed. But Blizzard's been working a lot of stuff. I know there's some buffs and nerfs going in today to help people out with delves. But there's also strategy that goes into delves. There are ways to survive even when things seem unsurvivable. And here is a video from Dalaran, how to never fail a bountiful delve ever again in the War Within. Let's see if he can unnoobify some of us and teach us how to do delves correctly.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and as of this week, the War Within Season 1 has officially launched, opening up a brand new raid of the Nuremberg Palace on normal and heroic difficulty, with a mythic difficulty available next week. The PvP season is in full swing, and Mythic Plus dungeons not quite here. Those are arriving next week, but Mythic Zero dungeons are currently available with upgraded gear and items.
Mythic
But
Plus
another
arrives
fantastic
today.
method of gearing a character right now is through delves, as tier 8 delves are finally open. The highest tier of delves that award some fantastic gear, from champion gear, but also maps that can award you up to hero track gear, equivalent to heroic raid gear quality, but also an opportunity for players to fill out the Great Vault with tier 8 delves,
That's right.
making them incredibly lucrative. But as many players finally dive into delves, they're noticing that some of the higher tier delves, like tier 8 and above, are actually quite challenging, especially as a solo player.
Here's what I actually did as a solo player, Blood DK. I actually took, believe it or not, I took Brann and put him on healing mode. Because to me it was like, well, everything's going to die eventually. This is going to take a while, but it's getting a little bit difficult, especially at tier 7. I started to feel it a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I can heal myself, and then Brann can drop all of his healing pots. I'll never die, which I have not. I will never die, and eventually I'll just, limp noodle dick my way through the thing, and everything will die eventually to my axe that is completely dull and does no damage. And that's how I did it. It took me like freaking 20 minutes to do the damn delve because I can't kill anything, but your boy didn't die and he completed it. So that's, sometimes you just gotta outstrat the strategy.
So for this video, I want to go over all the different things that you can do
His
right
healing
now
is ass,
in order
yes,
to make it.
but I'm a blood DK, so I already have good healing. I just need him to kind of top me off a little bit here and there with his little pots that he throws around.
Delving experience in War Within.
But his healing is going to be buffed by 125%
easier.
today.
As always, if you guys want to see more guides like these for the War Within, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. Otherwise, let's dive into the list of how to make sure you never fail a bountiful delve ever again. So off the get-go, if you are struggling to solo delves or want to have a little bit of an easier experience, or rather a safer experience, running delves as a group is a bit of a safer route to go. It doesn't necessarily make them easier because the enemies inside of these delves will scale with the group sizes. So the more allies you have with you...
I'll be honest, I think this was Blizzard's mistake, was making delves a groupable piece of content. I think that's where all this misbalancing and issues have been going on, is they're trying to basically tune the same content to be soloable and groupable at the same time, and I think that's where things are breaking. Now, should they have made delves just solo content? I don't know. I don't know what the design concept should have been. I've been doing them solo for the most part. If I want to do group content, I'll go do Mythic Plus or rating or something. But overall, I think this is where they're running into problems. It's the balance of trying to create a challenge for a group and yet not too challenging for a solo player. It's having issues in terms of scaling.
The harder enemies are going to hit and the more health they're going to have. Just because you're filling the group with a bunch of players doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be a pushover, but having a bigger group can make certain aspects a little bit easier to manage. What a lot of players are doing right now is they're using the LFG feature in the delve specifically to find the delves they're looking for. So for example, you're trying to do the Underkeep delve, you'll see a bunch of players are listed for different difficulties of delves. If you are running delves as a group, the most common group size is going to be a 5-man party.
I have a question. Since I haven't grouped up yet, can somebody who has not unlocked a tier 8 delve do a tier 8 delve in a group? That's just like I don't. Is that possible? I haven't even tried to group up for one. I've just been doing them solo. No, okay. So you got to have the level. All right. So it's not like Mythic Plus where you can just jump in and do a +10 even though you've never done a 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah, I don't think so. All right. I just wanted to confirm that.
This is going to be a 5-man party with a tank and a healer and 3 DPS, just like you're running some normal heroic or mythic dungeons. Or you could do a smaller group size where you don't have nearly as big a scaling, but a lot more of an efficient pacing. So normally you would have a tank, usually one that could do self-healing, so think of like Blood Death Knights or Guardian Druids. The warriors can work, I've seen groups with warriors, and 2 DPS. This allows the enemy scaling to not be nearly as high as a 5-man group, so you can get through the actual delves a little bit more efficiently.
Interesting.
So no matter what kind of party sizes you're running through, make sure you bring at least 1, or better yet 2 classes that can res any of your falling party members. Not specifically battle res, though that can also be helpful, but like a proper res. You see, this is because inside of delves, when you start a delve, your group will have a limited number of lives, and in most tier 8 delves, that means you have 5 lives for the entire group. If you have to release and res at the start of a delve, you consume 1 of those lives, and when you're out of lives, you basically fail the bountiful delve.
Right.
So if you get put in that kind of a situation, you want to make sure that you have a class that can actually res another player, because resing doesn't consume 1 of those lives.
I think they changed that. Didn't they change that? Didn't they change that so that's not the case anymore? Because I thought that, well, this is no longer current. Yeah, I didn't think so. So no, if you die and you take a res now, it still counts. So we're gonna update this video as we go, maybe. I think that's probably the only thing that's out of date here. But yeah, this does not apply anymore. If you die and you get rezzed, it counts as a death towards the group's lives or your own life if you're a solo runner. How would you res yourself? I don't even know. But I'm just saying, it doesn't work this way.
Having a normal res is just a little bit more economical. Now, if you are trying to solo delves, you still can do it. However, when you first walk up to a delve, they actually give you recommended item levels for all the different difficulties. Like a tier 1, you don't really need a high item level. Tier 4, nothing crazy, but as you start going up and up and up, it does actually increase the requirements for some of these difficulties.
And here's something I didn't understand that a lot of people were complaining about. They're like, okay, tier 8 says a 600 plus item level. I'm 601. Why can't I easily do a tier 8? Well, the fuck are you talking about? It's 600 plus. Okay, it's going to give you 618 gear from your vault. So you're probably supposed to be somewhere in between there. The closer you are to 600, the harder it's going to be. A 615er could run that thing much easily than a 601 could. And I think people just aren't comprehending that. You're early in the season. You're still under geared. Now, is the scaling broken? Yes, it is. Are some of the bows broken? Yes, they are. But to say that you expect like Blizzard to nerf this to the point where it's going to be easy at a 601 item level to run a tier 8, it's not going to be. It's not supposed to be. I think you're misreading the text here. What is a 9?
For some of these
610 for a 9? Okay. But you're going to get 618 on a tier 8 from your vault. So it's not supposed to be easy.
And it continues on into tier 10 and even tier 11. But for a comfortable experience within tier 8, they actually recommend for you to run at least 600 plus item level. And on a rogue that's about 602 or so, maybe a little bit more since last night's raid, I can easily run through the delve. Don't have to worry about too many different mechanics or one-shots within a delve. But on my shaman, for example, that's a little bit of lower item level, you still can do tier 8. In some delves, you could do them very, very comfortably. But you will need to do a little bit extra more work in order to finish out those delves, as higher item level is going to make some of those encounters a little bit easier. So the best thing I could recommend as a solo player is to at least try your best as you can to meet the minimum item level requirements for that delves difficulty, or at least get as close as humanly possible. Do a couple of open world activities, get a bunch of crests and valor stones, upgrade your gear, and try to reach that item level or get as close as you can before you try some of the higher tier difficulties.
Yeah, I'm 575 and I was doing a 7 yesterday, which I'm supposed to be under geared for. And like I said, you just got to take it slower. I switched Brann over to healing, and I just literally limp noodled mobs to death and just survived and survived and survived. And I know not every class can do that. Obviously, a mage is not going to be able to tank and take hits the way I could as a blood DK. But you just kind of you got to understand how to do your class to get through this for now. Eventually, we're going to outgear it. It's just going to be bam, bam, blast. You know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, you're done with the delve. That's how it'll be eventually. But for now, if you really want to push a high-end delve early in the season, the first week of the season, yeah, you're going to have to put some strat behind it, some extra kiting, some different things, avoid some mobs that you know are going to hurt you.
Now, another way that you can make delving a little bit easier is to talent your character accordingly. Making a best talent build as a DPS to focus on damage can be good, but if you're skipping out on survivability or some of the underused talents that you normally wouldn't pick up, that may actually make your delving experience a little bit easier, a little bit less threatening, can be the play. For example, as a shaman, I almost never really pick up elemental orbit unless I want to have double earth shield, but also right below that, refreshing waters can be huge when it comes to just catching up a little bit on healing. You have emergency self heals like Nature's Guardian. You could also crowd control better with Guardian's Cudgel when you're playing around Capacitor Totem. Being able to reset the capacitor totem for multiple stuns in a row can also be very, very useful. Picking up someone like an AoE slow with your Frost Shock, for instance, can allow you to tackle on multiple enemies without letting them touch you in the first place. Picking up a little bit of more survivability with Earth and Elemental, Primordial Bond, things such as Stone Bulwark Totem. There's a lot of different ways that you could do little optimizations for your character in order to have a little bit better
spec for survivability,
surviving within delves.
Yeah, makes sense.
And even if you're not somebody who has the best experience with the class that you're playing, maybe it's too old, or maybe you haven't played the game for a while and are just going back for the War Within, down in the description, I have a link to some of the more popular recommended builds for every single one of the classes. And most websites nowadays that do guides have a section for the best raiding build, the best Mythic Plus build, but also the best delve build with a big focus on self-survivability for players that are looking to do solo delves in particular. And it even gives you some of the different recommendations when it comes to hero specs, because some of them have offensive power or defensive power. And for example, someone like a Farseer together with the Earthen Communion talent makes Earth Shield a little bit better as a self-survivability tool, but also offering you a little bit more of
for me, I'm spec for survivability through raid, so my spec doesn't really change. I've just been going in with my raid spec and been surviving just fine. But again, yeah, it's each class is going to have its own issues and, you know, positives and minuses to this.
Cast mobility heavy gameplay. Now that you get your character build, it's also a good idea to change the way that you run through it delves. First thing to note is delves don't have a timer. You don't have to speed run through delves and do them as quickly as possible, which allows you to take delves at your own pace. You should also be able to play around your character's cooldowns, both offensives and defensives. If you're about to run into a powerful elite enemy that's difficult to take out, or maybe a group of enemies like 5 to 6 that you want to finish off as quickly as possible, those are probably your high priority targets where you want to use your cooldowns. But if you're going to be fighting a single foe or two foes that are not that threatening, that's probably a good idea to hold your cooldowns and use them during key specific situations. Also, just because there are enemies in a delve doesn't necessarily mean you have to fight them, especially if you have classes like Rogue.
I've been doing that all. Even as a Death Knight, I'm not a rogue, right? Or you know, it would be nice to be a rogue or a druid and just stealth around shit, but I've been avoiding shit. You know, if I can avoid a boss or wait a little bit, give some time for a boss or a mob to pat by, you know, and you could just go around him. That's what I've been doing. I mean, why are you going to pull extra shit? There's no reason for it. Unless it's part of the dungeon's goal, whatever that dungeon's goal is, you know. Maybe you got to kill a certain amount of mobs. Sometimes that becomes a thing. But overall, no, I've just been avoiding mobs as long as I can avoid mobs. That's the best way to do it. What kind of skill tree am I using for my blood? A Deathbringer. I think every single DK is using Deathbringer right now, unless you're DPSing. But yeah, every blood DK I'm pretty sure is Deathbringer. It's the meta.
Example, who can stealth around, I can pick and choose which battles I want to fight, and I can go for a more safer route to make sure that I don't ever fail a bountiful delve. Lastly, try to utilize your entire class's toolkit. Like some classes, for example, like mages, are great at crowd control. You can polymorph one target while you take off enemies and not have to fight groups of enemies at a time. Instead, you could just fight one enemy at a time if you want to. Classes that have the ability to kite with slows or roots or any of those other effects should do so, because getting meleeed in a delve is going to be a lot more painful than getting meleeed by random mobs while out in the open world doing world quests, and you want to try to mitigate and take as little damage as possible if you don't have to. Classes like rogues and hunters in particular have abilities like Trickster and Misdirect that allow you to redirect threat to another entity, such as Brann. So you can make Brann actually be a kind of like a makeshift tank inside of the delve if you want to do so. And just like we are setting our character up,
you gotta use your kit, like kind of like Mage Tower. Use your kit to your advantage. Like one thing I was doing, you know, with the little candle or the little shock totem, you know, where the more you move, the more it shrinks. What I was doing was I would go to like the center of the room, put it down, and then just start death gripping shit into it. That way it just lasts longer, and I can just not worry about it and just kill shit inside the circle. And obviously use things like Death's Advance to not get knocked out of my circle. Like that's the way I do it. DK head, actual movement. Yeah, it's basically just understand your kit and use it to your advantage. There's plenty of ways to do different things in the delve to make it easier based on whichever class you're in there with.
Up with more defensive talents. We also want to pick up some more defensive consumables, and at the very least pick up some Algari healing potions. You can splurge out for flasks and potions and all these other enchants and other things, but at the very least run some potions. They're not expensive. Even rank 2 Algari healing potions provide 3.6 million instant health every 5 minutes, which can help you within delves to immediately take you out more from a dangerous situation into more of a happier situation, so at least you can escape some of the more dangerous encounters, and just overall increases your chances of completing a delve in one piece. Also, if you don't have any good delves available for the day, sometimes it's a good idea just to save on your restored coffer keys. These keys is what you need in order to be able to open up some of your bountiful delves, though some delves have proven to be a little bit more challenging than others. And it's a good idea to not waste your keys on some of the more harder delves for you to solo. For example,
so I finally decided to use I had been saving the restored coffer keys, right? And I'm like, we're at the end of the week, and I just did this +7. I know it's not going to give me the best because a +8 is going to give me the best. But I'm like, you know what? I got 5 of these keys right now. I'm just going to use one. Let me just use one. It'd be really nice to replace one. Like, I have a ton of green shit still I'm wearing. I have one piece of purple gear. It's my shoulders and the trinket we got from Raid yesterday. And I'm like, okay, it's great. I'll use my key. As long as it's not shoulders, this thing's an upgrade. Open the damn box. It's shoulders. It's shoulders. And, sometimes I just feel like this shit's coded into the game. Like, it's just meant to make gear progression take longer. But, yeah. So, it was a 2-item level upgrade, and I used the coffer key on it. And had it been on any other slot, it would have basically been like a 15-item level upgrade. So, yeah. Thank you, Blizzard.
In the Ring of Deeps, there is a delve called the Waterworks, which is probably the worst. It is F-tier delve in terms of solo ability, especially with the final boss doing as much damage as he does, especially with that damage being plenty unavoidable. And other delves that are not that great in order to do no matter the week is Earthcrawl Mines. Technically soloable, but a lot easier to do as a group. But if you are looking to do some of the delves that are some of the easier ones to do, I would say the Spiral Weave in particular is one of the easiest delves to solo easily in S tier.
Actually, I don't know if I've done Spiral Weave yet. I've just been doing them all. I don't give a shit which one's considered easy or not. Just take your time, go through it. The true season starts today. Mythic Plus starts today, Moishi. What are you talking about?
Delve. In a couple hours. Something like a Fungal Folly is also falls in the S tier just because it's really easy to do. None of the attacks are unavoidable, and you can even use the environment to help clear some of the enemies with the spores as they explode. You can actually have all these mushrooms and lizards and all these creatures inside of the delves. All of them take damage from the spores as well. So if you can cluster them together, kill a spore, back away at the last moment, have the spore explode, and it can just take care of the enemies for you easily. Delves in Hollowfall, such as the Nightfall Sanctum, for example, is also pretty good. Not quite as easy as Spiral Weave or Fungal Folly, but definitely an easy A tier. And even certain delves such as the Dread Pit, not quite as easy as Nightfall Sanctum, but there's a lot of enemies that can be avoided. Easy B tier. Another one that's also pretty good that you wouldn't think wouldn't be that great is the Underkeep. Again, not the easiest, but definitely very, very doable as a solo player. So if you do encounter a delve that's just really difficult, such as the Earthcall Mine or the Waterworks, you could just save your keys and use them for when a good delve is up, as these delves rotate daily and the new delve becomes bountiful every single day. So you could just simply be more efficient with all of your restored coffer keys, maximizing the rewards while also minimizing the troubles you could have in certain delves. Now, the last bit of advice that I have is to simply level up a Brann, which sounds easier than it looks, but if you play multiple alt characters, you can actually use all of those alts to level up your Brann. Normally, Brann
What level is all your guys' Branns? I think mine's 17 now. Do you feel a big difference? Like, is he legitimately getting stronger? I feel like this guy just tossing healing pots around for me, and I don't really notice a difference. Maybe they're healing more? But, like, he's not doing... I don't feel like he's healing me more. He's just throwing his damn healing pots around. I pick him up. 37. My God. He bugged at 37? Well, I believe after level... God, what was it? There's a certain level. I think it's 35, maybe, or whatever. They changed the cap. First of all, they lowered the cap. It was supposed to be higher, and they brought it back. They brought it down. And second of all, there's a point where he will only level if you do higher than, like, a level 8 delve or something like that. I forgot what the hell it is, but there are different ways where you can level him, and there's a certain point where he can only level if you do a certain level of delve. Or it's he'll only level if you do a bountiful delve or something. Like there's a point where he will only level if you do a bountiful delve. 38's the cap at the moment, yeah.
Past level 15, he requires experience from bountiful delves specifically in order to gain additional levels. And as Brann gains additional levels, he actually gains the Explorer's Medical Journal ranks, which increase his overall effectiveness of healing or damage and effectiveness of his abilities, constantly increasing with every single rank. Normally, if you run Brann through 4 delves on your main character, for bountiful delves specifically, you end up getting a bit of XP, and then you kind of just stuck with Brann.
What kind of tank uses Brann as a healer? A smart tank. A smart tank. I'm 25 item levels less than the content I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it solo, and I'm killing it, and I'm not dying. That's what I'm doing. And I realized I had to make that switch at around, I'd say that was like a level 6 delve. I switched him over to healing because I was like, well, his damage is kind of shit. I'm still having to do basically everything, so why don't I just have his extra healing pots around so I can make sure I just survive? And that's what I did, and I've been living. Yeah, his healing is ass. Yeah, but it's like I said, I'm a blood DK. I heal myself. I just need him to do a little bit of topping off for me, and that's what he's been doing. And it's been working for me.
Brann's level as he is up until the next day when those delves refresh. However, if you play multiple alts like I do, or if you have a couple of alt characters at the very least, and if you're comfortable doing them as solo or even as a group, you can actually run those characters with their own bountiful delves, and all those characters continue to level up Brann. As part of the war mode system, all of your war mode characters share Brann levels, and every single one of the characters continues to gain additional XP for Brann, even for delves that you've already done. Brann also continues to retain all of his curios, so I end up getting a couple of purple quality curios left and right over in the combat section as well as the utility.
Can we, like, as a community, start a thing where we tell Blizzard, please do not put items in our bags anymore that we have to click to actually use? Like I think it's so... I found like 3 of these in my bag yesterday. I'm like, where the hell did these come from? And then I realized they were delve items that I have to right-click to equip to Brann. And I'm like, why? When the fuck would you ever put this in your bag and not click it to put it on Brann? What's the point of that? I understand like a BOE item, okay, but what's this shit doing in my bag? Why do I gotta click it? Or same thing with crests, like when I loot crests. Why are the crests going into my bag and not just directly into my currency? I'm talking about like if you buy the crests, they go into your bag. Why? Why is there that extra mechanic? I don't understand. Is it a coded thing or the fuck's going on? Just put it in the damn spot where it's supposed to go. Don't put it in my bag. I don't even know. I don't even check my bag half the time. Don't do that shit.
And those all transfer and can be utilized by my alts as well. So the more characters you have to run Brann through bountiful delves, whether as a group or as a solo player, the more experience Brann can get, which makes Brann more effective. So if you have multiple alts that can do delves, that you're willing to do delves on, that you're looking to gear for the season, the more characters you have, the more experience Brann can get, the easier it's going to be to solo, especially some of the higher tier delves. But that's going to be all the advice that I have for you today when it comes to you trying to have an easier time with the delves in the season 1 of the War Within. And as always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope all of you enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it or found it,
might be a skill issue. Couldn't be me personally, coughs.
I'm not dying I just said I don't die. The fuck?
Informative. Go ahead and give it a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community if you have any questions regarding delves or need some help completing delves. Maybe there'll be somebody in the community, both EU and NA, that'll be down to join you, or maybe I'll be around. Maybe I can help out here and there on my main rug as I've gotten a little bit of gear. So join our Discord community. Let me know all your thoughts, what you think about delves in season 1 in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
Pretty good video. Besides the fact that half a chat was shit-talking me the entire time. I'm trying to help you guys out, teach you some damn delves. Jesus. I'm a man of the people here, trying to help the people, and the people are angry. Well, it was a pretty good video. Obviously, the only thing that was irrelevant was the if you die and get res, it doesn't count as a death. It does now. Blizzard patched that. It's different now. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, speccing into a survival-style spec definitely could help you out. Taking your time, not pulling every mob, maybe. There's certain ways to do it where you can make it easier on yourself or harder on yourself. And if you got sick of delves or it pissed you off early on because it was too difficult, I suggest trying it again, because Blizzard has patched in a ton of shit that should, I preface it, should make things easier.